Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day, curd nerds, and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This live stream is where you can learn about, well, not learn about home cheese making. You can ask all your home cheese making questions. I was doing the podcast there for a second. Big shout out today to Chris Holland. Thank you, Chris, for your YouTube membership. And thank you to Tori Zimmerman. Thank you, Tori, for your financial support. And thanks to all of the YouTube members and patrons for their support on a monthly basis. It really does make the show go. So very cool. Also, a big shout out to Donna Bath, who enrolled in the Curd Nerd Academy today. Not today, yesterday. She's learning how to make cheese at home using my course called the Curd Nerd Academy. I'll get there, folks. Anyway, I should introduce myself. I'm Gavin Weber. I'm the host of the show today, and as I said, I'll be trying or attempting to answer your cheese making questions. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch today. And as I mentioned before, Donna did sign up for the Curd Nerd Academy at courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au. And thank you for that, Donna. So let's say g'day to a few people. I think the first person was Charlie. G'day, Charlie. Lovely to see you, mate. Just down the road. Patricia, all the way on the other side of the world in Halifax, Nova Scotia. G'day, Patricia. Excuse me. Marcia says, when I haven't, and I can't bring it up. Oh, hang on. I better get rid of that caption. Let's get rid of that. Blatant plug there. Marcia says, are you making new videos? The ones on YouTube are 3 to 10 years old. I don't know where Marcy is looking, but not on my channel. The last one I uploaded was 3 weeks ago, as I mentioned. Big g'day to Judy. Thank you, Judy. I think I have, your picture. You got a photo in the gallery, and so has Patricia, so that's fantastic. G'day to Wendy. Lovely to see you. Stranger Ranch. G'day, Stranger Ranch. Lovely to see you from Idaho. Nicola, g'day, Nicola. And who else we got there? We got Cease, g'day, Cease. We got Gillyherm. Who else? We got M, g'day, M. Annette, Annette, thank you for the lovely cover picture for today's, or the thumbnail for today's episode. Lovely looking Cotswold. Amazing S, g'day, how are you? Joe, g'day, Joe from Tassie. And cup of tea, love, from New Zealand. Most excellent. We've got lots of questions. And bonjour to Christoph. G'day, Christoph. Okay. So now let me just get to the, I've got some things to say. So videos currently being edited are Fundy Fog, recipe by Patricia, which is fantastic. And I'm just waiting for a bit of bloom to occur on the ash coating for that cheese. Let me just share. Sorry, I should share. I love sharing. Let's share. Let's get that out of the way. And we're going to share my window. So here's my Trello production board. Let's just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. So, like I said, currently editing is Fundy Fog, which is a lovely ashline cheese based on Humboldt fog. Patricia invented that recipe. It's a cow's milk version. I think I've created the line like she has, nice and perfect there. It's got an ash coating at the moment. It's got to mature for 6 weeks. Also, Out Blossom. I'm shooting the video for that at the moment. It's based on Gruyere, and it's got this lovely, let me just make that a bit bigger. Can I make the photo bigger? Not really. Well, it's got this lovely Alpine botanicals and herbs. So on the outside, so that should be really good. I'm hoping for just a tiny bit of eye development. I've modified my Gruyere recipe to account for that. Tomorrow I'm making red Windsor. This is one here. Can I make this bigger? There we go. So it's a red marble cheese. I will be using vintage port to create this look. This is the official version, I think. But yeah, I'm going to use my Derby recipe that I have, and Derby, yeah, Derby Derby. Also, in planning stage, I'm doing a short video on Pearson's Square, which is just a simple way to calculate. Can I make that bigger? So a simple way to calculate milk fat content. So you can either standardize your milk to whatever a recipe asks for. And we've got a super chat going on there. Thank you for the super chat. I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, Pearson's Square. So I've got to do a video on that. So that should be interesting. And you can use it for milk and skim milk or milk and cream. I've worked it out, and it seems to work. And of course, cheese mold, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm still writing the script for that, so we will get to that. Okay. So let's stop sharing and get back to me. Lovely. So also, any suggestions? Any suggestions for guests for the 12 Hours of Cheese, which occurs on the 12th of June, 2022, from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's GMT plus 10. So any suggestions, leave them in a comment on this video, or or in the chat, and I can go through that at the end of the show. Also, don't forget there's the gallery at 30 minutes past the hour. So let's just get to that super chat. It's $20 from John. G'day, John. Thank you so much for that. Says, Gavin, do you mind if I call you Curd Daddy? Yeah, sure, or Curd Grandpa. I don't mind. I am a grandfather, but I'm proud of it as well. But yeah, there we go. Thanks, John. Crazy. All righty. Let's get to some questions, shall we? I've got my alarm set for the gallery, so we're not going to miss it today. So that's good. M has a question. Says, hi, Gavin. I made Guidos, but it has little taste and is very plastic. Am I expecting too much? Should I age it longer? The cultures were a bit old. Could that be the issue? Thanks. Right. So a little bit plastic. Let me think. So it wasn't strong on flavor. I'll give you that, because it was just a table cheese. So it did have it had a nice flavor. I enjoyed it. But what you can do, and if it was very plastic, it means that the curds were cooked too high. So maybe check your thermometer. If the temperature's too high, a younger cheese will taste a little bit more plasticky, or the paste will be not strange, but it'll be very firm. Aging fixes that, of course, and you can age it. There's no problems with that at all. Just because the recipe says you can eat it at 3 weeks, doesn't mean you have to. So if you've got any pieces that are cut, then you could vacuum pack them and age them longer, so you wouldn't have any trouble. Culture being a bit old, yes, that could be. You might not had a viable colony of lactic bacteria in the milk, and that could be something to do with flavor as well. Certainly not the plasticity. That is definitely too hot. The curds are too hot. Now, you can tell if the curds are done, and you may have seen in some of the videos, is when I grab a handful of curds, squeeze them, and if they stay together, that is cooked just right. And then if I can break them apart with my thumb and they just fall away, then they're perfect. They're ready to be pressed. If they don't stick together, or they stick together and you break them with your thumb and they don't fall apart, then they're overcooked, and you will get that, especially using a thermophilic starter culture, a plasticity. Okay. There's a question from Cup of Tea Love. similar sort of question. Greetings from New Zealand, Gavin. I made queso fresco and it's kind of dry and rubbery. Did I press it too hard, or is that how it's supposed to be? I did 4 hours at 16 kilos for a mini 2-litre batch. Yeah, it pressed too hard. So all of the cream and fat probably are not there, and all you've got left is the protein. So it will be a bit rubbery. Now, that cheese tends to be quite firmish. It's a fresh cheese. You eat it straight away after 6 hours of pressing. So the more fat that you have in the milk, the better, the smoother the consistency of that cheese is going to be. So I hope that helps. Let's have a look. M has another question, of course, and you're allowed to ask more than one. No problems at all. Hi, Gavin. If I can ask another question, yes. My gorgonzola is covered with white fur. Should I wipe it off as Ricky Carroll suggests? Thanks, mate. I think Ricky Carroll's long since retired, but yes, you could. So you could scrape off and I've done it before, scrape off the blue and white mold on the surface of the cheese. I wouldn't wipe it because it kind of tends to smear it. But if you use a knife, just a dull knife, so like a butter knife or something like that, and just scrape the mold off, and the blue mold's already developing inside the cheese, so you won't have too much troubles. Yeah, that'll work. No problems at all. I've done that before, and in fact, you can see that in my Petite Blue video on the channel, so you can go check that out. Kevin says, for all the curd nerds out there, just made Jim Wallace's Italico, fantastic cheese and relatively easy to make. I'll have a look at that recipe. I did notice it the other day. I get the weekly newsletter from New England Cheesemaking Supply. So Italico, I'll have a look at that one. Thank you, Kevin. I'll put it on my list. Julian says that Gorgonzola Dolce looks good. Indeed, it does. Let's have a look. M says Red Windsor looks great. Indeed. It should be, like I said, I'm making it tomorrow, and I'm using the Derby recipe, so I'm switching out sage and spinach juice for port, a vintage port. Cost me a pretty penny, I tell you, all the way from Portugal. Yeah, mind you, it does taste very nice. I had a tipple, but I will be soaking the curds in that, and hopefully getting that deep red color. It may not be that pink color that we saw in the picture, but hopefully it'll look nice. Molyneux, I think that's how you say it. Hi, and greetings from Finland. Just having the press cow's feta, 18 litres of milk, 2 Dutch presses, your recipe. Thanks very much. Hope that turns out well. And Guilherme from Brazil says, hi, Gavin. I saw some recipes of brie that doesn't stir the curds before moving into the molds, and others do. Do not stir, will make too much moisture and increase the chance of failure. Look, when I've seen traditional videos of them making brie in France, they do a single cut, like I do, and then they scoop it off. The thing with traditional brie is it's really large, so it's going to have a lot more weight, and the curds are going to be able to press themselves a lot better without a press. However, when I make brie or even petite bries, I find that there's too much moisture in it, and the paste doesn't develop properly if you don't cut the curds. So making smaller cheeses, you don't want them too moist, because when you take them out of the mold, they just collapse. So that's the reason I do that compared to when they make a larger brie. Is that Rad? I think that's Rad. Says, can you explain the method and ingredients of cheddar cheese sauce? with many thanks. Well, the way my wife makes it, Rad, Kim makes a very nice cheese sauce, and she starts off with a basic roux. So anybody who does French cooking, it's basically butter, milk, and flour, and you make a white sauce. And then she puts all of the cheddar that I make into the sauce, and it melts into a nice globby cheese sauce. It depends on how thick the roux is, of course, and how much cheese you add. Depends on the runniness. Now, if you're talking about making a like a nacho cheese sauce, something like that, that's made a little bit differently. That's made with sodium citrate, and there is a video on how to make sodium citrate and how to make a basic form of American cheese, which you can just add more water to, and you get a nacho cheese, like one of those runny cheese things. Very cool. A suggestion: 24 hours of cheese, Alex. No, it's 24 hours. So Eric over at Two Guys and a Cooler, that is a good suggestion. He has been making cheese. Two Guys and a Cooler. Thank you very much for that. And he's Eric, because I watch his channel. Very good. I like the charcuterie stuff. And he's got some unique cheese making recipes that I've never heard of as well. So that's very cool. Thank you for that, Alex. Chris says, hi, Gavin. I was late today. You're never too late. I hope everyone is doing well. Yes, I believe so. Julian says, what is a Guido? Guido is a hard Italian cheese that is matured for 3 weeks. There is a video on the channel, Julian. Sorry. There's Julia's after it. Robin has a question. Says, good morning, Gavin. My partner keeps asking if I can make Old English cheese, but I can't find zero info about it other than the spread. Do you know how to make it? Old English cheese, like in Subway, that's a processed cheese. Old English cheese is not a cheese type, personally. It's just like cheddar matured. That's all it is. There's nothing mystical about Old English cheese. Justin says, hi, Gavin. Love the channel. Made Cheshire. I aged it for 2 months and it tasted terrible. It had a chemical type of taste. What would cause this? Oh, so it wasn't bitter or anything like that. If it was 2 months, I wouldn't certainly try Cheshire then. I'd age it for 3 minimum. It has to do with the proteolysis, breakdown of the proteins. They're not quite there yet. It also could have something to do with not enough salt in the cheese. That is also a factor that gives an off flavor. But a chemical taste, I've never come across that. So you may have done something out of the ordinary. I'm not too sure, Justin. But age it longer and you may find that it changes. M says, what would you say are the easiest hard cheeses to make, Gavin? Okay, so yeah, so like I said, the Guido's cheese. Let me just see if I can find that there. Have I got... I will find the link for you. If I can find it, here it is. Guido's cheese can... No, it doesn't do anything. Oh, stop with the ads. Goodness me. Here we go. So here is the link to the Guido's hard Italian cheese, and it's a very easy cheese to make. Yeah, you can give it a go. So that is the easiest hard cheese that I've come across to make. So next question is from Craig. And Craig says, hi, Gavin. My kefili yesterday turned out amazing. I vacuum packed the remaining quarters. How long can I keep in the cheese cave? Now, kefili being a young sort of cheese, and to keep that flavor, I would not keep it in the cheese cave because it will continue to mature. The lactobacteria will continue to break down into enzymes, and those enzymes will break down the proteins and fats and change the flavor of the cheese. So when you've got your cheese to the right, what you think is the right level of maturity, and you like the flavor, transfer it into the kitchen fridge. So down at 4 degrees Celsius, the lactic bacteria become dormant and don't break down any of those fats and proteins, and you get a better tasting cheese similar to what you experienced on the first try. So that's the best way to do it. Now, if you wanted to mature it longer and change the flavor totally, look, Caerphilly, because it's fairly moist, probably won't mature as well as you think it may, because it is quite a high moisture cheese in the center. All that extra moisture in there doesn't bode well for a flavoursome cheese upon maturity. Okay. Abby says that they're eating Wensleydale as we speak. There we go. There's a bit of Wallace when he gets excited about his Wensleydale. That was my impression. Okay. The standard question of the day from Hafstein says, "You favourite cheese?" I know I'm not cheese. My favorite. What is my favourite cheese? As I think the question is. Guess what, folks? All together now. It's all the cheeses, everything, all of them. Never met a cheese I didn't like except the processed one. Justin has a question and says, "Hi, Gavin. Love the channel. I made Cheshire." We already did this one. Second time. There we go. Sorry about that. Ty says, "Making bel paese as I listen. Hope it comes out better than last time." Don't know what happened last time, Ty, but yeah, hopefully it does. I've never had any trouble with bel paese. I made it a couple of times, and it tastes amazing. It does go tacky in the fridge when you're maturing it, but that's why we wipe it with a simple brine solution to make that the surface of the brine starts to go tacky, but it starts to go shiny. And when you've achieved that, you know you're on the road to success. A suggestion from Kevin says, "Suggestion for 12 hours of cheese. How about Ruth Cohen, as she makes a ton of interesting cheeses?" Yeah, I'll reach out to Ruth. I haven't seen her on the channel for a while. She's busy with promoting her new book on trauma, but I'll reach out to Ruth. Also, another person who I would like to interview, I don't know if she's willing or up for it, is Patricia, who does also make some amazing cheeses. That's not to say that all of you guys out there and girls don't make amazing cheese, but Patricia has been sending me some quite lovely photos of the cheese that she's made. So, Patricia, if you're listening and you're up for it, let me know in the chat, and I will. I'll send you an email with some details, and we'll work out a time. So that'll be cool. Judy says, "How about cheese 52 for the 12 hours?" She was actually. We're talking about Lisa, and Lisa was on the show last year. I was hoping to get different guests. However, Lisa's always keen and willing. So at a pinch, I would get Lisa, and definitely I also would get Fred, who was on the show as well, who's bilingual, so he can speak French and English, which was a blessing because I didn't know if he spoke English, but I invited him on the show. Yeah. But thank you for the suggestion, Judy. Abby says, "What would you say is the perfect amount of months to age cheddar to get the best vintage cheddar with the optimum crunchy lactic crystals?" 12 months at least before that crystal development starts, Abby. So minimum of 12 months, and you can go longer, of course, without a doubt, and it will be great. Jim, thank you, Jim, for your 29 months of membership. That's outstanding. And welcome to the show. Okay, so another question. This one's from Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. I saw a cheese recently that I'm fascinated by and wonder if you've ever heard it, tried it, or could possibly find a recipe for it. It's Bella Vitano Merlot, or even the non-wine version, Bella Vitano. I'll write that down. Bella Vitano. I have never heard of it. I've never tasted it, but I will see if I can find a recipe and we will see what we can do. Thanks, Aaron, for your suggestion. Wendy says, I make a fair Wallace impersonation. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, I love it. M says, Stilton versus Wensleydale. Who would win in a fight? I think Stilton would because it's stronger in flavour, that is. Wensleydale's just lovely. It's nice. There you go. That's my prediction. If they went head to head, I think Stilton would win. Okay. Samir said, I think it's Samir. Yeah, Samir from Algeria. G'day, Samir. Thank you for this article. No problems at all, mate. Patricia says, it is said that cheese with coliform infection will make you sick of eating. Anyone know how sick? Death, hospitalization, 24-hour flu. I think it'd just give you a gastric infection, I would think, Patricia. It's not a healthy bacteria, that's for sure. For those who don't know, coliform is known as early blown cheese. So what happens is it's a form of it's normally transferred to the milk from teats that have not been cleaned properly from the udders of cows or goats or sheep, and is transferred into the milk, and it creates CO2 straight away and infects the milk. And yeah, apparently I've never eaten it, and it tends only to happen with raw milk that hasn't been pasteurized. If you pasteurize that milk, the coliform gets killed. So now I don't know. Like I said, sorry, Patricia, I don't know because I've never eaten it. Thank goodness. But yeah, you could hope maybe somebody will know. I'm not sure. Kevin says, a few weeks ago, you featured a blue-coloured cheese on the homepage, sky blue colour. What cheese was that? Yeah, I think it had been dyed. So can I pull up the gallery from, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Let me just have a look. No, not that week. Week before. No, it was the week before that. 208. 208. Yes, it was, what does she call it? Tower blue cheese. I don't know. And she never sent the recipe. So I don't know. It looks like dye to me. Looks like a blue kitchen dye. So, yeah, go figure. I don't know what she put in it and how they did it. But, yeah. Sorry, Kevin. Don't know. But it looks like food dye to me. Justin says, how long or how many times can you use your brine? Thanks, Chief Curd Nerd. Justin, I use my brine until it smells. So I pasteurize the brine each time before I use it. So I will effectively I just boil it. So pasteurizing as well as I can do. So I do that, and if it then smells after that, there's the gallery alarm. So if it smells after that, I throw it away and make a fresh batch. In fact, when I made the, what did I make? I made the Out Blossom, or the Gruyere for Out Blossom. I smelt the brine, and it really did smell like Brevibacteria linens, so smelly socks. When it gets to that stage, then I tend to dispose of it and make a fresh batch. So usually, it depends on the cheeses you make, but usually it does last for about 6 months. But if you've recently brined a washed rind cheese, so one with Brevibacteria linens added into it, it does tend to smell, and because Brevibacteria linens love salt. So, yeah. Anyway, so let's have a look at the gallery. Can I find it for today? And let's share that. So the gallery is a segment that we do every week at 30 minutes past the hour, and it's submissions from all the cheesemakers who watch the channel. So today, this one's from Ian, and this is his Gorgonzola, which is a bit chunky, he says. Let's see, what's he got to say about it? So Ian says, good morning, greetings from Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. I am a recent newbie in the cheese making game. Had a go at making Gorgonzola style cheese or like cheese. Following your recipe, this is the result. It didn't cut very pretty, but it tasted amazing, with emphasis on lots of A's in the amazing. Kind regards, Ian. And that looks pretty good. Thank you very much. And that's the cheese before he cut it. So, yeah, good looking structure for the blue cheese. But yeah, we could have added, I think in the Gorgonzola recipe, we probably could have increased the fat content a little bit. And I think that that could have made it a lot smoother. Also, like I mentioned previously, they use Penicillium glaucum, which is a style of blue cheese, which is a little bit different than Roquefort or Penicillium Roqueforti, which I didn't have at hand, and the recipe book didn't say for it anyway, because I think Penicillium glaucum is very hard to get your hands on. Anyway, so that's Gorgonzola by Ian. Thank you, Ian. Let's have a look at the next one. This one is from Judy, who's in the chat. Judy says something here. Judy says, hi, Gavin. When my son returned from the Netherlands, he requested a Frisian clove cheese. The nearest I could find was Jim Wallace's Norwegian Knokkelost, flavored with cloves, cardamom, and caraway seeds. Absolutely delicious with the spices not overpowering. We'll be making it again. It shouts out Christmas and mulled wine. But if there is anybody out there with a recipe for Frisian clove, I would love to give it a go. Cheers, Judy. So if anybody's made a cheese, I don't have a recipe personally. Patricia Gauchi, who's on the channel as well. Let's have a look on the inside of this before we get too much further. So that looks really nice. Nice tight paste. A little bit of mechanical holes, but looks like a bit of gas because the holes are shiny. But I think it's a nice distribution of the herbs through it, and you can see the cloves tend to stain a little bit of the cheese, and so does the cardamom. But it looks fantastic. Well done. But if anybody's got a recipe, then yeah, shout out. And I am going to try that Norwegian Knokkelost and give that a go eventually. It's on my list. But yeah, we'll give that a go. But good one, Judy. This one's from Patricia. Let's have a look, Patricia. There's a note with this one. Patricia says, hi, Gavin. It's probably late for the 24th. It's not. I snuck it in this morning, mate. Today is Gruyere, 6 months old, natural rind only, no wax or vac packing at all. This is the first time I've tried to age a cheese this way. Okay, so that's the outside of it, and let's just have a look at the inside. So that's the inside there. Looks pretty cool. Zoom in a little bit. Can I move it down? There we go. It says dried out a lot and took on a waxy texture, not in a bad way. The cheese wire didn't cut through it, but the knife worked fine. It can be sliced very thinly and probably shaved. The flavor is nutty and complex, but not sharp. I think it is perfect for the cheese board and will be excellent grated in macaroni and cheese, especially my lobster mac and cheese. Very nice. Send my best regards to Kim. Regards, Patricia. Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, you can see it has dried out a fair bit, but the texture looks great. My Gruyere, I kept in a ripening box. It looks like you may have as well, but you've really got to keep the humidity up to prevent the cheese from drying out. And my Gruyere was a little, I won't say it was soft in the middle, like store-bought Gruyere, but it wasn't this hard. But that still looks like a fantastic cheese, Patricia. You should be proud of yourself. Looks very, very nice. Let's have a look. Are there any more? No, there's no more, but there is a link that, let's get back to me. There's a link that Jim sent through about a yogurt video. And it's very interesting. It's by a young bloke called Dan. Let me just pop that into the chat, and you can go and check that out at your leisure. He sent me a note, and he says, I think I found this, this link I found on YouTube in my notifications and thought you might be able to use it for inspiration for your own yogurt making video. Now, Dan does go into so much detail in his videos. Yeah, it's kind of not, excuse me, it's kind of not my style. I do go into details, but he's gone down to the nth degree on pictures of the guy who invented or discovered the lactic bacteria that creates yogurt. So very very detailed yogurt video on how to make it. But yogurt is so simple, so I would simply make a yogurt video, just how to make it, which I have in the past. There is I think there's 2 yogurt videos on there. One for a tangy yogurt, a bit of a Greek, a natural yogurt style, and of course a soy yogurt, which I made as well. But anyway, go and check that link out. It's a very good video from Dan. So yeah, I will be making, I put it on my list to do a yogurt video, so that should be cool. All right, let's have a look. There are some more questions here, of course. I think, no, we did that one from Justin. So this one's from Judy. Says, need to vacuum pack my cloth bound cheddar. Should I remove the binding first? And there is a super chat. Thank you so much. I should have a little noise go off, shouldn't I? Thank you, Cheryl. I'll get to that in a second after I've answered this question. Judy, I would. The cloth banding is just an ancient way of protecting the cheese, stopping it from drying out and becoming infected by mold. If you think there's something going on underneath the cloth bound, then take the binding off and just simply vacuum pack the cheese. Because I wouldn't vacuum pack it with all those molds and yeasts and stuff on the outside. Abby says, would you ever try Casu Marzu? No, I would not. There you go. There's the answer to that one. Like I said, Cheryl has a super chat. She's got a question, I think. Thank you for the $10 US, Cheryl. It says, sorry I'm late. I've been dog sitting. Yeah, Kim's doing that to our 2 doggos as well. I am taking lamb breast to a dinner tomorrow. What cheese would be a great one to take? Living large in Florida. Whatever your favorite cheese is. So obviously, if you're taking a lamb dinner to somebody, then obviously you're not going to eat cheese with it in the main dish. So a cheese platter afterwards should always be balanced. I've made a cheese platter video that you can check out. Take your favorite cheese and ask them not to get the same one you take. I usually try to balance it. So I'll put a firm cheese. So whether that be cheddar or a style of cheddar, I always put on a washed rind cheese, so something that's been made with Brevibacteria linens. Also put a white mold cheese, blue mold cheese, either one of those, sometimes both. And I'll often also put a soft cheese, so one that's spreadable. So balance it out with different flavors. So I don't like have 3 or 4 cheddars on the platter. It's no point really. Even though different styles of cheddars do have different flavors, they are similar in style. So mix it up a bit. But yeah, look, I don't know what goes with lamb, but all cheese goes with lamb as far as I'm concerned. But thanks for your super chat, Cheryl. I appreciate it. All right, now there is we do have another question. So Molnar says, Molnir says, since I discovered your channel, I've made Parmesan 5 kilos, feta 5 kilos, cheddar 4 kilos, Blue Farm cheddar 4 kilos, Gouda 2 kilos, Jarlsberg 2 kilos, Emmentaler 2 kilos, ricotta a lot, and going on. Well done. Well done indeed. I'm glad I inspired you. Now, before I go much further, speaking of inspiration, Kim and I have been watching there's a new TV series called Julia about Julia Childs, who introduced French cooking to, well, not she didn't introduce French cooking to America or United States, but she had a TV show called The French Chef, and it was on public television. And the story about Julia Childs is an amazing one. It's been really good, and she is or was, sorry, she passed away in 2004. An inspirational one about how somebody can promote something, or not promote something, to just her whole art. It was great. So blessings out to Julia Childs, who has passed away. But amazing story. The video, the acting is just amazing as well. So anyway, if you get a chance and you're into cooking, which I am as well, of course, cheese making, but go and check out a TV series called Julia. Very good. Anyway, question from Michelle says, for your information, I'm experimenting with a whiskey Bella Vitano style cheese by going for a slightly modified version of your mead washed Alpine cheese. Almost ready for tasting and looking good so far. Very good. Yeah, so that Alpine washed cheese was good fun. So and interesting, and the flavour was lovely. We got another super chat, and this one's from Cheryl again. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl says, I've never made any soft spreadable or molded cheeses. Oh, I better kill the light. Blue, etc. Where shall I start? All right, so spreadable cheeses. So you would be amiss not to try and make Sherv, which is just like goat milk cream cheese. Also cow's milk cream cheese, a lovely tart flavour, but I think the goat's one is probably superior. Another lovely spreadable cheese is fromage frais, which is absolutely delightful. French cream cheese, another beautiful spreadable cheese. Probably not in the class of spreadable cheeses, but if you make my Petite Bleu to the recipe, it is very oozy in the middle and very spreadable. So that's another suggestion, a very good spreadable cheese, Cheryl. They're just a few that I can think of. Let me think. The gorgonzola that I made recently tended to be, yeah, you could have spread it on crackers, but not spread on bread because it probably would break the bread. It was a little bit firm, but yeah, it's very good. Julia says, I just started watching that. An amazing lady indeed. It's a great TV show, and she's inspirational. In fact, I'm telling the truth, as I always do. Last night I was a little bit under the weather, had another sore belly. I don't know what's going on, but I was going to postpone the show, but then Kim, after dinner, we sat down and watched, probably binge watched about 5 episodes of Julia, and she inspired me to carry on and keep calm and make a cheese video. So yeah, I wasn't well last night, but I am now. I'm glad I woke up feeling well. Anyway, so back to some of the other questions. We have a uh, something from Star Farms, who have goats. Says coliform is common in water, soil, and fecal contamination. It generally causes gastrointestinal upset. Can be quite severe, including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and even jaundice. Well, that attacks the liver. That's no good at all. Thanks, Star Farms. I really appreciate that information. And then goes on to say that I would not feel comfortable allowing the dogs or chickens getting into a coliform infected cheese. So avoid it at all costs. And as I mentioned, that bacteria can be killed by pasteurization. So when in doubt, pasteurize. Next question is from, I think it's Christoph. Let's have a look. What you can do is dilute egg whites in the brine, boil it, and then filter out the flakes. That'll remove anything solid from it. Where'd that question come from? Not sure what that's referring to. I think you're talking about making something like what's it called? Lysolac, which is made from egg whites as well, which stops late blowing, not early blowing. Nothing stops early blowing except pasteurization or using uncontaminated milk. But thanks, Christoph. Let's have a look. Star Farm says, I think Wensleydale will be the first cheese I make as soon as I start milking again next week. Yeah, look, it's a great cheese. I enjoy making it. The style that I make it in, you crumble the cheese for what is it? Every 30 minutes for 2 hours? It's been so long since I made Wensleydale, but it does change the texture of the cheese, and it is unique. Wensleydale is a lovely cheese from Yorkshire or Yorkshire. How much time we got left? We got 12 minutes. Questions from Diceros. Says, have you made Munster queso Munster? Yeah, I have. There is a cheese on the channel called Munster. You can give that a go. Let's have a look. Question from Wendy says, what causes bitterness in hard cheese? Lack of salt, usually. Sometimes too much starter culture. Sometimes too much rennet, because too much rennet locks in too much moisture, too much whey into the curds, and that can cause bitterness as well. So 3 main things. Lack of salt has to be at least, for most cheeses, between 2 and 2.5% salt per weight of the curds before you press it. And that goes for brining as well. You need to brine the cheese for the right amount of time for salt absorption. Too much rennet, which locks in too much moisture. Sometimes the curds cut too large and too much moisture. Yeah, that'll about do it. So that's what caused. Oh, and sorry, the last but not least, not aging long enough. Sometimes I've found that if people cut into, say, a cheddar style cheese at 2 months, it can taste bitter. But you leave it for 6 months, bitterness gone. All of the I think it's called pepsin, not pepsin. All of the peptides that cause bitterness in cheese dissipate during the aging process. So there you go. Here's a question from Stanger Ranch. It says, I've been making Parmesan. My book from university says you can brine this cheese for 20 to 23 days without oversalting due to salt equilibrium in the curd is reached slowly. Any thoughts? I think your book from university may be talking about cheeses that are like 60 kilograms in weight. The larger the cheese, the longer your brine for. Yes, salt will reach a balance eventually, but I find the longer you leave it, the saltier it's going to be. Remember, if you make a saturated brine salad, I use about 18%. You can imagine 18% of salt in your cheese. No, a little bit too salty for me. It depends on what brine they use in the book that you've got there. So, yeah, I would only leave it for like a 1 to 1.5 kilo cheese. I would not leave that in the brine more than 12 hours. But yeah, some people say, what is it, 2 hours for every pound of cheese or 450 grams. I find that's way too little, and you get a bitter cheese. So anyway, that's my opinion. Other people may differ. There's a question from some bloke off the internet. Thanks for joining. Other than ricotta salata and bel paese, are there other recipes that keep long-termish in the regular fridge? Well, feta, of course, halloumi. They all keep well in the fridge. Let me think. What are some of the other? I've actually got a full video on making cheese without a cheese fridge, but a lot of those are soft cheeses that I recommend in there. Feta, definitely, no problems at all. But yeah, and halloumi are some that come to mind. Both amazing cheeses. Patricia's just replying back to Erin, who says her cheese looks amazing. And this is talking about the Gruyere. Says it's pretty delicious with prosciutto and sour gherkins. I bet it is. Okay. Patricia also has a suggestion about the lamb. Might go well with feta, indeed. Nice crumbly Greek. The Greeks do cook a lot of lamb, so yeah, that could be a good way. Let's have a look. We have not long to go. What time is it? We've got 8 minutes. So I'll answer these last couple of questions. What's that? Stuff and such. Hey, Gav, any chance mesophilic culture would work in a Guido? All I have at the moment and have 2 cows, 2 milk cows, so milk is plenty. Howdy from Canada. Unfortunately not. Because the cheese is cooked at such a high temperature, I think it was about 48 degrees Celsius, the mesophilic starter culture would die before it started converting the lactose into lactic acid. A better cheese to make that is equally delicious, in fact, it's more delicious than Guido's as far as I'm concerned, is that you could try Caerphilly, which some people have mentioned already in the chat today. Caerphilly is cheese that matures in 3 weeks, so a nice quick one. You can pump out heaps of them, I suppose, with the milk that you're using. Yeah, it's a fairly simple cheese to make. There is a little bit of cheddaring, but it's very easy the way I do it. So just go and check out my Caerphilly video, and you shouldn't have too many problems at all using a mesophilic starter culture. Titus, a little bit late to the show today. Greetings, cheeseheads. Very nice. Thank you, mate. Erin says, depending on how the lamb breast is prepared, some Swiss raclette cheese over a little fingerling potatoes and gherkins. Yeah, indeed. So that'll be nice. So if we're going down the path of putting cheese on the lamb, then yeah, use an Alpine style cheese. Very melty. Subtle flavor. You're not going to take the flavor away from the lamb. So yeah, great suggestion, Erin. Raclette, perfect. Gruyere, obviously, as Patricia's mentioned already, I think that would be good as well. They both equally melt very well. What's another way? I'm just trying to think of another Alpine style cheese. Some of the holy Swiss sort of cheeses would be good as well, like Emmentaler. That would be good over the top, melted. But yeah, so yeah, we'll take it with with the suggestions. So that'll be good. Cheryl has one last question before we wrap up the show. Cheryl says, I made a version of Persian feta with different spices from cloves to nutmegs. My friends love the clove flavored one. Any suggestions on other flavors? Yeah, so I basically, when I made mine, I stuck to Mediterranean style herbs. So that's what I did. But yeah, cloves would be nice. Cardamom is another spice that would infuse in oil very well. So that's another good one. Caraway seeds, of course. Fennel would be another one. It'd give a nice anise sort of flavor to it. Fennel is lovely with cheese as well. Another one, let me think. One just came to mind then. So fennel. Oh goodness me! No, I've lost it. I've lost it. But yeah, so there's some suggestions. I hope that's good. Oh, and of course, that's what I was going to say. Star anise. So that would have amazing, more of an Asian flavour to it. Here's a question from Titus. What cheese will keep in a motorcycle trip around Australia, Gavin? Whew, not many, because the Australia is a big place and very hot up in the northern climate. And any cheese, even if it's a hard Italian cheese, which Roman legions took everywhere, remembering that Europe's quite a mild climate, and the cheese will sweat fat unless you keep it refrigerated. But on a motorbike, not much chance of that. So whatever cheese you take, the harder the better would be my suggestion. Look, I've even seen Parmigiano Reggiano sweat fat in hot climates, so maybe difficult. Last question. No, here we go. Hang on, is it working? Here we go. How do you spell that cheese you mentioned, Caerphilly? It's actually C-E-A Philly. So you're close. Yeah, so Caerphilly. It's got an E in there. Yeah, and somebody's helped. Patricia's helped. Annette's helped. Well done. It's C-A-E-R. I'm a duffer. Sorry. Anyway, that's it for the show today. I think we'll finish. I'm going to go make a coffee and go and make some breakfast. I think I'm having pancakes today with Canadian maple syrup. So that should be yummy. But yeah, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. I appreciate all of your questions. Don't forget, if you want to send in a gallery photo, I better show how to do that before we finish today. So just quickly, if you want to send a photo into the gallery, all you have to do is go to the channel and you just find me, just search for Gavin Weber. There's not many of me. And we go to the little About tab, this one here. And down here, if you're not logged in, it'll say for business inquiries and the details, sign in to see the email address. Sign in with your Gmail account or Google account, whatever you're using. And the email address will pop up and you can send me your photos. So please do so. Good, bad, or ugly, I don't mind, as long as you don't. And don't forget in the email to leave a little description because I love reading those out. They're always lovely. So that is how to send me in gallery photos. Thanks one and all. Like I said, thank you for the financial support. Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate those. And thank you for all the questions, because without the questions, there would not be a show. So last but not least, don't forget, if you want to buy any supplies for your cheese making needs, we ship to a lot of countries now. Pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. That is the store that Kim and I run. And we have a cheese making supply section there. So thanks one and all. And we will see you next week. See you later. Bye-bye.